think that at some point, I had you guys for neuromuscle, right? And I told you something that you had to do when you did muscle testing. Anybody remember what it is?
Calcium.
So you guys, I've seen people do physical exams, and when you test muscle strength, you'll say, okay, I want you to lift your arm out to the side, and then you'll move on. Yeah, it's strong. Okay, good. We'll move on. We'll do it. Right? So we want to test these on both sides. But in order to get true strength of muscle tissue, we have to contract for 5 seconds.
Oh, you gotta wait.
A minimum, right? Remember, there's something called the staircase effect, right? Where it takes a time for enough calcium to be released in order to get maximum muscle contraction. Also, they could also put up a brief fight and then go weak on you, and you would never know that if you don't hold that for that 5 seconds. So I'm going to have her bring her arm up into my hand, and we're going to hold this. Give me your maximum effort for 5 seconds. So that felt like, to me, like it was pretty strong, right? She's either at this point or 4 or 5. So how do I tell the difference? We're going to do the eccentric breaks. So what happens with an eccentric contraction? The muscle lengthens as it contracts, right? So even though she's resisting against me, I'm going to overpower her. And I'm going to do this to make sure she's putting up full force. If we do an eccentric break and she can't hold that force, it's a 4. If we do the eccentric break and she can hold the force like she did, then we would go ahead and grade that as a 5. Okay? So for our testing, we're going to want to have them be generally in a fairly neutral position. So we're going to do here, and then we're going to do this side. Okay? And we're going to compare side to side, but we also want to grade it on our scale from 0 to 5. So, for C5 nerve root, what do we do? Shoulder abduction and elbow flexion. What's the nerve for shoulder abduction? Good. And for elbow flexion? Good. So, elbow flexion, again, we do 5 seconds, and then do the eccentric break at the end. Good. And we do that on both sides. And she may have an eccentric break response on one side and not on the other. That would also be telling that maybe one side is not a 5, right? Okay, then we do C6, right? What's our muscle test for C6?
C6.
Good, so we want to start off with it slightly extended. And we're going to do both sides. I'm going to add another one to your C6, okay? And that's going to be forearm pronation. Okay. Forearm pronation has been shown to be more sensitive than wrist extension, so she's going to pronate against my resistance, and I'm going to resist that way. Again, holding for 5 seconds, testing both sides. Okay? So wrist extension, forearm pronation. C7. Elbow extension. Good, so we're supporting. Good, eccentric break at the end. What else? Wrist flexion.
Finger extension.
One finger extension.
Good.
Middle finger.
And here again, 5 seconds. Okay? What else? So that would be 5, 6, 7, 8 would be finger flexion. Okay? And lastly, T1. Good.
Do this hand. Then we'll start.
I'm sorry. Let's do
How do you
this.
do?
Breathe, Megan, breathe.
Okay? So they have to do abduction and adduction. So go ahead and get with a partner, and I want you to do bilateral, hold for 5 seconds with eccentric breaks on shoulder abduction, elbow flexion, wrist extension, pronation, elbow extension, wrist flexion, finger extension, finger flexion, abduction, adduction.